All right, we're gonna make a video explaining how the table works, the help table works for weight pull and wall climb. When people sign up at a competition, you get a little index card that gets filled out, and on that index card is their weight class, so what division they're in, and their opening pull, right? So their opening pull, we're talking pounds, because I'm not gonna convert. So we have opening pulls and index cards. So as the table person, when I get ready to set up, we'll pretend that we have 6 dogs that are pulling in this division, and I have their cards set up. So everybody has their name and what their opening pull is. So I'm gonna set it up just like this. I make the run order the first time based on their opening weight. Whatever the lightest weight is where we're gonna open up at, and then every time we have to go up in weight, we add weight, we add weight, we add weight. We never go down. We go until everybody pulls their dog out because they maxed out or fouled out or whatever the case may be. So here's how you set it up. Fluffy is opening at 30. Jax is opening at 40, so it goes behind Fluffy. Larry is opening at 90. Larry's a little bit, that's kind of crazy. Larry's a little bit of a weirdo. He shouldn't be going that heavy, but that's okay. People make bad decisions. Spike is opening up at 35, goes behind Fluffy and Jax. Bella is opening at 60, goes between Larry and Jax, like so. Mabel's opening at 40. There's 2 people at 40. I put this one in right there. So this is the run that we have. Based on this, I'm gonna say, okay guys, we start this pull in 5 minutes. Fluffy's going first. Spike is on deck. Jax is in the hole. Now I'm sitting at my table. This is, the view of this is me as the table help. This is not the judge. This is not the sled help. There's 2 other people in the chute. There's the judge who's not doing anything. They're just watching to make sure everything's good. If they had to do all this, they wouldn't be able to pay attention. The sled help is making sure that they put the correct weight on, the correct person's walking in the door, and they pull the sled back to the starting line for the beginning of the next pull. They get everything set up in between reps. So the table help will say out loud, all right, everybody, Fluffy is up first, Spike is on deck, Jax is in the hole, and I tell the sled help, Fluffy, 30 pounds. No problem. Fluffy, 30 pounds. Sled help repeats it to me like we're at a fucking Starbucks making a drink. Fluffy, 30 pounds. Judge puts the dog comes up to the thing. Sled help says, Fluffy, 30 pounds. You as the handler go, yes, this is Fluffy and we are doing 30 pounds. So there's no like, oh my God, that was too much weight. Everybody gets it repeated. Dog pulls. I'm sitting here at the end of the table. I usually will have a person sitting with me running the stopwatch. When the ref says go, they hit the timer. When the ref goes pull, telling us that the pull is completed, they hit the timer. They will tell me what it was. So I can say, did not make it, like this, which I shouldn't have done with a pen. That's okay. So if they didn't make it, I'll make an X beside it. If they made it and it took them 15 seconds to pull, I will go 15 seconds on the index card, so we know they pulled it at 15 seconds. That matters because if there's a tie on weight, it will go down to who did it faster. If there's a tie on it's the same weight and the same speed, then the lighter dog wins. But we need to know speed and weight. So at the end of Fluffy's pull, they pulled it in 15 seconds. I write down 15 seconds. And Fluffy, before they leave the track, Fluffy says, put me back in at 35. And I go, no problem. 35, coming back in at 35. Then I look at my list. 35, this next dog is at 35, I put it behind Spike, like so. And then I will say, all right, Spike is up, Fluffy's on deck, Jax is in the hole. Jax has been sitting in the hole. Doesn't matter, this is part of the deal. You're really gonna have to learn how to toggle your dog into and out of prep. They're gonna have to learn how to be cool in their on deck spots or in their in the hole spots. Because Jax has been sitting in the hole already because Fluffy went again. So now, Spike up 35, Spike's up at 35, Spike pulls, it took him 10 seconds to pull. I go 10 seconds. And then before Spike leaves the track, Spike's mom goes, put me in at 45. And I go, cool, 45. And I go, 45, here we go. Fluffy's up at 35, Jax is on deck, Mabel's in the hole. No problem. Fluffy's up, Fluffy pulls 35, right? Fluffy fouls out, takes longer than a minute, fouls out. I go like this. You get one free foul at level 1. Fluffy's mom goes, we're gonna try 35 again. I go, no problem, 35 again. There are no other 35s. If you look at the list, there's no other 35s. So I'm gonna give Fluffy a 2-minute break. Fluffy's on deck, 2-minute break. Fluffy's on deck at 35. Jax is in the hole. Jax is on deck, Mabel's in the hole. No problem. Fluffy comes out, pulls it, and this time gets it at 45 seconds. Boom, 45 seconds, and says, put me back in at 40. And I go, no problem, 40. Put Fluffy back here, 40. Awesome. Jax is up for his first pull. Jax is up at 40, Mabel's on deck, Fluffy's in the hole. No problem. Jax pulls, and he's a fucking monster, so he pulls in like 5 seconds and destroys it. It's gonna take a sec. Destroys it, and says, put me back in at 60. I go, no problem, 60. Flip, up here like this at 60. Mabel comes out, pulls 40, no problem, says put me back in at 50. Pretend she did 10-second pull. Puts me back in at 50, no problem. Goes up here. See how this is working? And now every time I rearrange my thing, I go Fluffy's up at 40, Spike is on deck, Mabel's in the hole. Fluffy walks up, says 40. Pulls this successfully at 50 seconds, no problem. And goes, I have made my 1, 2, 3 successful pulls. I'm out, I'm done, handle it withdraw. They're not pulling their dog anymore. I go, no problem, thank you very much. Fluffy's out of the rotation. We keep making this rotation until dogs have pulled as much as they're gonna pull. They must make 3 pulls in order to qualify to get on the podium. In order for their score to count, they must make 3 successful unfouled pulls. Fluffy made 4 pulls, but only 3 of them were successful. So they had to continue to pull until they got 3 successful pulls in. But this will keep going until people are like, okay, my dog's maxed out, I'm not making any more pulls, and they'll withdraw them, or they foul out too many times or whatever. The people that made 3 successful pulls will get put over here, and we'll go whoever pulled the most wins. If there's a tie, it goes to who pulled it fastest. If there's a secondary tie, it goes to the lightest dog. But you will just keep skipping the cards ahead, like put them back in wherever they come in, and it will go so-and-so's on deck, so-and-so's in the hole. That means it's not a run order of if I went after Johnny round 1, I'm gonna go after Johnny round 2. That's not the case. And this gets into some of the really interesting aspects of weight pull that are not just how strong is your dog, what's your dog's endurance. This goes into, you get your dog warm outside in the parking lot, you come in, you make some lighter pulls to get them acclimated to the track and warm them up, but then it gets into, you can be on deck, ready to fucking go, and then the next person does all 3 of their pulls at that same weight in front of you with a 2-minute break in between, so you're sitting on deck for fucking 10 minutes. Or 5 other people, you're gonna come in at 50 pounds and there's only 3 people ahead of you, but then all 3 of those people make 7 or 8 pulls at small jumps before you, and it's 45 minutes before you pull your dog the first time. So like, the run order changing is gonna really, really tax and test your ability to keep your dog activated enough that they know what they know they're doing something drivey, but not burn them out while they're fucking spinning in circles on deck waiting to go. So there's an interesting element of arousal control in that game. But hopefully that makes sense so you can see how the index card works and how the jumps work and how if somebody leaves the track and tells you put me back in at this, you actually put them back in the list at that next weight, and then the run order changes. You will constantly be announcing who's up, who's on deck, who's in the hole, and it's people's job to listen and say, oh shit, I'm in the hole, and get their dog prepped and ready to go. Wall climb uses the same rotating card system for run order. The difference is instead of saying how much I'm gonna pull, it's how high am I gonna jump, and there's no need to do time. Like weight pull is a timed event. So you say how much are you coming in at, how fast did you successfully pull it. Wall climb is not that. Wall climb, it's the same rotating card. You could put me in at 6 foot, no problem. Put me in at 8 foot, boom. And it runs that same rotating run schedule based on your target, but you don't need to record the time it took them to successfully catch it. But it finds that same rotating run order on the cards. So that's wall climb, and weight pull follow this rotating card run order. Spring pull and mill race do not. There's a fixed run order, not a rotating run